So when you think of the name Pinocchio, what comes to mind? I bet it's, a smiling wooden boy, maybe some whimsical songs, a friendly cricket.
Oh, absolutely. The sweet Disney movie. But that whole narrative is almost completely manufactured.
Right. And that's what we're here to do today. We're going to dig into the original source material, Carlo Collodi's 1883 novel, and really understand why it's less of a fairy tale and, frankly, more of a horror story.
It's just relentless. This isn't a story about a puppet who wants to be good. It's a brutal kind of episodic lesson in,
Okay.
well, in 19th century ideas of obedience and hard work.
Exactly. So for our listener who wanted a chronological deep dive into the darkest, most violent moments, that's our mission. We're going to track Pinocchio's worst acts and the immediate graphic payback he gets for them.
And what's so fascinating is that the violence isn't random. Collodi was writing at a time when things like mandatory education were seen as, essential for building the new Italian nation.
So Pinocchio being a truant wasn't just him being naughty.
No, it was like a threat to society. And the consequences in the book, they reflect that. The story is basically designed to teach kids through visceral horror.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. Right at the moment of creation. Geppetto's just carved him. He's expecting a son, but what he gets is, well, it's immediate chaos.
That's right. The puppet isn't even fully assembled and the bad behavior starts. The second he can move, it's just pure primitive malice.
What's the first thing he does?
He steals Geppetto's bright yellow wig, which is, a pretty prized possession, and puts it on his own head. But he doesn't stop there.
He escalates right away.
Instantly. Before Geppetto can even react, Pinocchio gives him a sharp kick right on the tip of his nose.
No.
Then he bolts, runs out into the street, causes this huge uproar, and a policeman sees Geppetto running after him, crying.
And assumes Geppetto's the bad guy.
Exactly. He assumes Geppetto is some kind of child abuser and drags him off to prison.
Wow. So in his first few minutes of being alive, Pinocchio gets his own father unjustly thrown in jail.
And he's delighted about it. He goes home, all alone, and that's where he meets the first voice of conscience. The talking cricket.
This cricket has been in the room for, 100 years?
Over 100 years, yeah. And he starts giving Pinocchio this very sensible advice. Go to school, obey your father, don't be lazy, the basics.
But Pinocchio doesn't want advice. He wants to do what he wants. He calls the cricket ugly.
He does. And when the cricket insists, calling him a marionette with a wooden head, Pinocchio just snaps. He completely loses it.
And this is where it gets really dark. This isn't just a puppet swatting a bug. Describe the violence for us.
He jumps up in a rage, grabs a hammer from the bench, and throws it with all his strength right at the cricket.
A hammer.
A hammer. The book says the cricket is killed instantly. He falls from the wall with this little weak, dying sound. He literally murders his own conscience. Yes, just to silence criticism. That act alone tells you this isn't a charming story. Pinocchio is, at this point, a violent sociopath. And the story gives him zero time to process it. The payback is immediate.
Right, because in Collodi's world, the universe does not forgive.
Not for a second. The immediate consequence for that murder is a crippling, ravenous hunger. His body is now suffering because of his moral failure.
And he goes looking for food, but even that is like a form of psychological torture, right? The painted fireplace.
Oh, that's just so cruel. Geppetto's house is so poor that the fire, the pot of boiling water, it's all just a painting on the wall, a total deception.
So even the hope of warmth is fake.
It is. Then he finds a real egg. He's about to cook it, but a little chick flies out and escapes through the window. Everything is conspiring to make him suffer.
He's starving. He's freezing.
Yeah.
He runs outside again and gets a bucket of cold water thrown on him. So he goes back home, soaked.
Yeah.
And this is where we get one of the most horrifying bits of body horror I've ever read in a kid's book.
He does the logical thing. He tries to dry off. He sits on a stool and puts his wooden feet on the hot coals of a foot warmer, and then he falls asleep.
And the description of what happens next is so methodical.
It's chilling. The book says while he's sleeping, his wooden feet began to burn. Slowly, very slowly, they blackened and turned to ashes.
So his own stubbornness, his wooden nature, is literally consumed by fire as punishment.
And he has no idea. He doesn't realize his feet are gone until Geppetto gets out of prison and knocks on the door.
And when he tries to stand up,
he just collapses. The book describes the sound as like a sack of wood falling from the fifth story of a house. It's this reminder that he's an object, a thing.
And he blames the cat. He tells Geppetto the cat must have eaten his feet.
He does. It's just pathetic. But the lesson is learned through this irreversible physical damage. He has to beg and promise to be good before Geppetto finally agrees to carve him new feet.
So he survives that. He gets new feet, and Geppetto sells his own coat in the middle of winter to buy Pinocchio a schoolbook.
An immense sacrifice. And what does Pinocchio do?
Sells the book immediately for a ticket to a puppet theater.
He's rejecting education for entertainment, and that leads him right to the fox and the cat, who prey on his greed.
He shows them the 5 gold coins he got from the theater manager, and they're like, we know he can turn that into thousands.
The field of wonders. And just before he goes, he gets one last warning. The ghost of the talking cricket appears.
As a flickering insect, right?
Yeah.
And it specifically warns him about assassins.
And Pinocchio just scoffs at him. He thinks assassins are just something parents made up to spare their kids. He's so arrogant.
Which, of course, seals his fate.
Instantly, the 2 assassins, who are just the fox and the cat in disguise, wrapped in black sacks, jump out and demand his money.
He hides the gold coins under his tongue.
Right, and it turns into this awful chase. They can't scare him, so they try to force his mouth open. Yeah. He bites down on one of their hands and realizes it's a cat's paw.
So he knows who they are.
He does. Then they try to stab him, but the knives just break on his hard wooden body.
So he's immune to that kind of violence.
Yeah.
But they find another way.
A much worse way. They decide, and the line is so cold, there is nothing left to do now but to hang him.
This is a literal lynching. In a children's story.
A full-on execution. They tie a noose around his neck and haul him up onto a branch of a giant oak tree. But it's the aftermath that's so brutal.
They don't just leave?
No, they sit on the grass and wait. For 3 hours, they wait for him to die. The book says he's just blown to and fro like the hammer of a bell.
That imagery is just devastating.
It is. The noose gets tighter, he's choking, he can't breathe, and in his final moment of despair, his mouth falls open, the gold coins fall out.
The very things that led him there.
Exactly, and he just hangs there as if he were dead.
Oh.
The book is explicit. He is only saved because a fairy shows up.
Okay, so he survives a lynching. He's saved by the fairy. We get the famous nose-growing scene when he lies, and he promises, again, to be good.
But of course he's not. The temptation to avoid work is too strong. His friend, Lampwick, convinces him to go to the land of toys.
Perpetual vacation, no school. It's the ultimate trap for a lazy kid.
It is. And for 5 months, he just plays. No consequences. But the consequence isn't gone, it's just deferred.
And when it hits, it's another piece of classic body horror. He wakes up one morning
with an itch, and he discovers his ears have grown at least 10 full inches. They're hairy. They're donkey ears.
He has donkey fever.
That's what the dormouse tells him, yeah. The physical transformation has begun. His laziness is literally becoming part of his body.
And the final stages are so humiliating. He and Lampwick both fall onto all fours. Their faces get long. They grow tails.
And the sound, they try to cry out, to scream, but all that comes out is this loud, mournful donkey bray.
They've completely lost their humanity.
And the punishment immediately shifts from humiliation to slavery. He's sold to a circus owner. He's beaten with a whip until he eats hay. It's absolute servitude.
But he's not even good at that. He falls during a performance, becomes permanently lame, and now he's useless.
Which leads to probably the single darkest transaction in the book.
He gets sold again. For how much?
For 4 cents. To a man who only wants his skin.
His skin? For what?
To make a drumhead for his band.
That is grotesque. So the price of his wasted life is 4 cents and being turned into a drum.
Pretty much. The new owner takes him to a cliff over the sea, ties a big rock around his neck, a rope to his foot, and just throws him in to drown.
And he's just waiting on the cliff for the body to float up so he can skin it?
Yes. But then, this bizarre thing happens. A school of fish comes and eats his donkey skin off.
They eat the donkey skin right off his wooden body.
Exactly. It's not magic. It's this weird, literal shedding of his mistakes. He turns back into the hard wooden marionette, and the man waiting on the cliff just sees this puppet pop up instead of a dead donkey. He's only saved because he's fundamentally wood, not flesh.
So if we just, recap for a second. In this story, he has committed murder, been mutilated by fire, been lynched and left for dead, been turned into a slave animal, and then thrown in the ocean to be skinned for 4 cents.
It's just relentless. Collodi's message is crystal clear. If you reject work and education, you will suffer, physically and brutally, until you learn. There are no shortcuts.
And that completely changes the lesson, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Disney Pinocchio we all know is saved by a wish upon a star.
Right. A wish and a simple change of heart. The original Pinocchio only becomes a real boy after he works himself to the bone, earning money to take care of his sick father and the fairy. Redemption is earned through labor.
So you have these two paths to becoming a real boy. One is paved with suffering and consequences.
Yeah.
The other is, well, it's magic.
The cruel version versus the kind version.
And it makes you wonder which one actually teaches the more effective lesson, the one that's brutal and unforgiving, or the one that offers easy grace. It's something to think about. The next time you realize a favorite story is hiding a much, much darker origin.